In my world there is music and good vibes and laughter and lovers, adventure and friendship. We know who we are.
Hello and welcome everybody to Be the Wellness Podcast. Adam and Vanessa Lambert doing it again.
Doing the podcast. Yes, we are. And we're super excited about today's guest.
We are.
But first,
Montana.
We still have some spots for our Montana adventure retreat.
We do.
And we're super excited about that particular event because Montana.
Because it's Montana.
Because
And
Montana, right?
It's ridiculous. Glacier. Glacier is one of the most ridiculous places I've ever been.
It's really, really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's amazing about it?
You know, I think it's one of those places where you actually really feel like you're immersed in nature. And it was something that we experienced in Africa. It's something we experienced when we're in Costa Rica, like where you're just really, really with nature. And the type of nature that's there is, it rivaled to me the likes of Peru and being in the Andes and just feeling like the vast grandness of the mountains and the rivers and the lakes. And it's just so beautiful and restorative.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's bears.
And there's bears.
And I mean, there's everything. It's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Northwest.
Yeah, it's just, it's the wild, wild something. But it's just such a special place. And we're really looking forward to hosting that retreat at the Green Valley Ranch, which is just a really special location. And trust us, we scoured.
Yep.
We scoured the area.
We've seen them all. And we found the best one.
It was the specialists.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we're going to be having, doing some horseback riding on the property there and hiking and going to Grinnell Glacier, which is one of the last glaciers.
Yeah.
And just some really special stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the property is what, 400 acres?
I can't remember off
I think
the
it's
top of
something
my
like
head.
that.
But
Yeah,
it's a big one.
and it's just incredible. It's
Yeah.
like when you think Montana, this is like the picture that should pop up.
Yes,
for the most part.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's why we felt like that was the right call, because it was like, yes, this is the Montana experience.
Yep, we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Minus the mosquitoes.
Yeah, no mosquitoes. Woohoo!
Yay.
It was, mosquitoes. I know you're just doing your thing, but no me gusta.
We want to do our thing as well, but separately from you.
Yes.
Like open letter to mosquitoes. Do your thing somewhere else.
It's actually quite funny that you say that, because when we were at Rhythmia and I was, deep in my ayahuasca ceremony, I was like, can I rewrite my contract with mosquitoes?
Yeah.
I'm so sick of getting bit by them. It didn't really seem like it was possible.
Yeah, they're operating on a different level.
Yeah, they were not in my wavelength.
No.
But we've got a really cool guest today, and his name is Justin Strahan, and he is one of the co-founders of Joov Light Company. And Joov is a really cool company that uses red and far infrared light rays.
Near infrared.
Sorry, near infrared. Red and near infrared. I'm thinking saunas. And it's really a cool technology that they're seeing some incredible benefits. And, it's kind of across the board, the things that it's beneficial to, from hair loss to, just joint pain, acne, eczema, all kinds of different skin conditions, and all the way just to, general well-being and mood improvement. So it's a pretty cool technology. And we've been seeing it here and there at different events that we've attended. We've been hearing about it. And it wasn't until one of our bees in the hive said, "Hey, we'd love to hear about this particular light therapy." And we said, "Good idea. Let's invite Justin on the podcast and learn more about it."
Bam. And we did exactly that.
Yeah.
And so it's cool because he's obviously super knowledgeable about how this whole thing works. And I think he does a great job of kind of parsing out the bits and pieces. And you guys are well-educated listeners, so I think you're going to fully understand what it is that he's saying and the importance of the benefits to the mitochondria and the stuff that he talks about. So it's cool.
And something else that's really great about this particular product is it just doesn't take up that much space.
Right.
So if you're like us and you're in a small space,
Yeah.
it's nice. You can hang it on a door, on a wall, get a stand. It's pretty cool. We're definitely going to get one of these and check it out and start using it, and hopefully we'll be able to report back some of the effects that we've had. But it's it seems like a really cool addition to your healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just makes sense. I mean, everything he said makes sense to me. So for whatever that's worth, but it's cool.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing is, and this is why I really felt comfortable about having Justin on and really talking about this therapy, is that there's a ton of studies around it. So this isn't, just someone making claims or just anecdotal evidence, although there's a lot of that as well. There's a lot of studies that are showing improvements in a vast array of areas.
Yep.
So you can take a look at their website. You can see some of the reviews, but you can also see some of the, when you go to the section that says learn, you can kind of take anything that one might be grappling with and read some of the articles and see some of the studies on that particular thing.
Yeah, and see some of it. And I think what these guys are really nailing is they're taking something that has been studied a lot and making it more accessible.
Yes.
Because there are units out there that are unapproachably expensive.
Sure.
And they're I think walking a really nice line of efficacy, like something that's actually going to work, and you can actually
afford it. Yes.
Which is a tricky balance,
Of course.
So it's cool.
Yeah, and they've got a great payment system where you can finance it and make, monthly payments. So they're really trying to make it accessible for people. And, we're into that. We're into making things accessible and affordable for people. So we really think that's a cool sort of ethos that they've got going in their company.
Totally.
Yeah.
And without further ado, here's Justin. And we're live. Welcome to the podcast, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to get in and dig into your brain about all of this awesome information around light therapy. It seems like everywhere we turn, there's some kind of light therapy or someone's talking about it. It seems like, last year we were at the Bulletproof Conference and Paleo FX, and it seems like it's really a super cool technology that's sprouting up everywhere. And we're excited to dig in and learn more about it.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a very exciting field.
Yeah. So let's just have you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what got you interested in becoming a founder of this awesome company that's producing these wonderful products.
Of course. My name is Justin Strahan. I have a background in engineering. Spent my entire career in various management positions of engineering processes. And I first heard about light therapy from my wife of 20 years, Melissa, who's also one of the co-founders of Joov. And
Awesome.
She first tried out red light therapy in a salon where they basically had a tanning bed that had been converted for the purposes of light therapy. So that's how I was first introduced to it. And since then, it's been quite a journey, as you can imagine.
And so did she recognize some improvements or benefits right away from that first exposure, or what kind of cued her into, going deeper and even starting your own company?
Yeah, no, great question. She had read about some of the benefits of red light, and there's been basically quite a bit of research for specific wavelengths of red light for skin health benefits. And she had read about those as well as some potential deeper tissue benefits. And when she had tried the therapy at the salon, she's not wanting to do something halfway. So when she signed up for the couple month session, she was literally driving across town every day, getting her session of full body red light therapy, and she loved it. And over a period of weeks, before the completion of the first of the 2 month session that she signed up for, she saw some pretty incredible results. I mean, the treatments felt good. We were in Minneapolis at the time in the dead of winter, so getting a full body dose of red light, felt really good to her system from an energy standpoint. But she really saw some benefits related to skin health, specifically with the really complete elimination of some eczema issues that she had struggled with for several years.
Wow. So maybe you can just step back a minute and just explain to the audience what light therapy is.
Yeah, I think fundamentally, our ancestors lived and were exposed to natural sunlight, the vast majority of their, waking moments of the day. And what we've seen in the past couple hundred years, as we've transitioned to largely a an indoor culture. The latest numbers I've seen, we spend roughly 93% of our lifetimes, inside. And there's some significant health ramifications of that. So what light therapy really does is it takes specific wavelengths that are found in sunlight that have been proven to have specific cellular responses in inducing biological functions for a wide host of benefits to basically help restore healthy cellular function. So that's really what it boils down to.
So with this, so vitamin D is something that people are pretty familiar with as something that our body generates through sun exposure. And so is it a similar mechanism, the same kind of idea?
It's, I guess, similar in the aspect that we're harnessing wavelengths of light for biological functions. Red and near infrared light don't specifically tie to vitamin D production, which comes from the UV wavelengths. But, similar from the aspect that our bodies are run on and basically feed off of light energy.
We're just a bunch of flowers, after all.
Photosynthesis,
man. Cool. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that people are seeing in terms of the benefit of light therapy. I mean, you mentioned, just getting that feel-good sensation of having a full light experience, but what are some of the more, maybe medical conditions or some of the things that you're really seeing market improvement with this light therapy?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The technical term for light therapy is photobiomodulation, which basically just means we're using photons of light to modulate biological functions. And the research has been so broad that there are literally thousands of published clinical studies that have been completed on everything from reducing wrinkles to improving thyroid function to reducing pain and soreness related to joints, muscles. There's even been some fairly interesting research done on cancer patients. Specifically, there's quite a few studies actually helping to minimize the impact of some of the other treatments that are not so natural, whether it's radiation treatment or chemotherapy. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's very widespread. There's research that's been very interesting on testosterone, regulating testosterone production or improving it in men that have low T scores. I mentioned kind of the muscle recovery aspect. So it goes from that to improving even some hair growth has been widely studied as well. So it's a very broad type of treatment.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you're just potentially replacing something that's fundamentally missing, and
Exactly.
And so that can end up showing up in any number of deficiencies or mechanisms or processes within the body that just aren't necessarily getting what they need. So
exactly, I think that's one thing that I think as a society we're starting to kind of wake up to the fact that just treating symptoms or getting symptoms to go away, with some sort of a drug, isn't the solution. So if we start thinking of our health in a much bigger, broader picture in terms of the building blocks of what our bodies need to be healthy, it's not even arguable that light plays a significant role. It's certainly one that I had totally underappreciated just a few years ago.
Absolutely. So how does it actually work? Like, what's that like? Give us a play-by-play of how this actually goes down.
Sure. So we're taking specific wavelengths of red and near infrared light. So the red wavelengths that are typically used are between 600 and 670 or 80 nanometers. So this is visible, bright red light. And then in the near infrared spectrum, roughly between 800 nanometers to 880. This would be not visible, so it's outside what the human eye can recognize as light. And what we find from these two ranges of light is there are specific portions of our cells called mitochondria that are basically act as the engine of the cell. And virtually every cell in our body has mitochondria, with the exception of blood cells. And so what happens is when these specific wavelengths our bodies are exposed to these wavelengths, it affects the processes in these mitochondria. So what happens is our bodies are subject to a host of different negative effects, whether it's toxins in the air we breathe or the water or food that we consume, stress, and a number of other things. If whether you're talking about unnatural blue light that we're exposing our bodies and eyes to, well after sunset, to electromagnetic fields, EMFs, all these things have detrimental effects on these biological functions of the mitochondria. And what these specific wavelengths of red and near infrared light do is they're able to basically help restore this healthy cellular function of the mitochondria. And these engines basically produce ATP or cellular energy, and or the technical term is adenosine triphosphate. And what this basically byproduct of these cellular functions basically regulate every tissue and function of the body. So whether you're talking about inflammation in a joint from an injury, there's been some studies, quite a few studies on osteoarthritis, so joint pain, muscle soreness. There's been some interesting things for eye health. So it's literally virtually every cell in your body is affected by these wavelengths in a positive way. And it's basically a building block that our body is able to harness and use for seemingly unlimited number of health benefits.
Yeah. So specific to the mitochondria, because this is something that obviously, well, if you're not worried about your mitochondria, you should, or at least be thinking about them, right? Because it's super critical piece to pretty much everything we're doing. So I'm wondering if somewhere in that mechanism, or in the studies, have you seen like an increase in mitochondrial density, or is it more like an efficiency thing?
Yeah, it really comes down to an efficiency. So you have this process of cellular respiration where you have this electron chain transport, and you have 4 phases of cellular respiration. And what we find is this 4th phase gets stopped up, or basically inhibited by all these negative factors that I referenced a minute ago. And there's basically at a molecular level, you have this process basically gets stopped, where you have this electrochemical processes of the cell that are basically break down and slow down. And it's literally the aging process in a nutshell is a part of this too, where basically these tiny nanomotors basically are slowed down, and they're not as efficient as they should be or used to be. And by providing them with these specific wavelengths that are help restore healthy cellular function, we're able to improve that and even help reverse some of the damage that's already been done. So something as simple as collagen production for the skin, where red and near infrared light can have some really beneficial results. It's certainly not a miracle cure all. I would equate it to think of it basically as nutrition for your cells.
Yeah, absolutely. And, on the website, when I was reviewing some of the information, you had a segment about how saunas compare to light therapy. And, that's really something that a lot of people in our community are leaning towards. And so I'm wondering if you can just compare and contrast some of the benefits you would get from saunas compared to light therapy, if they would be good synchronistically, or how you see those playing out.
Yeah, no, that's a common question that we get, which is why we, of course, address it on the website. I guess first off, I'd like to say we're not anti-sauna. I have an infrared sauna and enjoy using it. The main difference is infrared saunas are using specific wavelengths of light that are designed to deliver heat to the body. So typically, you're looking at wavelengths in excess of 3,000 nanometers. And these wavelengths are very good at delivering heat. So that are also, of course, found in sunlight. And one way that I would describe this is if you are outside on a very hot, sunny day and you feel that radiant heat from the sun, if you have a cloud that passes over, the moisture in that cloud actually will filter out these longer wavelengths. So they're very quickly absorbed by moisture. And the same thing happens in our skin and our body as we're exposed to these longer wavelengths. They're very quickly absorbed by the outer tissues, and thus that we have that radiant heat effect. And there's widely studied biological benefits related to this. Primarily, most of the studies that have been conducted have been around the cardiovascular system, basically because we're inducing heat to the body. We induce these heat shock proteins. We're basically putting the body in a kind of a stress situation where we're causing the cardiovascular system to have to respond. And the result is very similar to physical exercise. If you've ever done, especially a fairly lengthy sauna treatment, maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes with an elevated temperature, it's fairly exhausting. Whereas light therapy, it's quite different. So rather than kind of taxing the body with this heat, we're actually giving the body nutrition at a cellular level to help restore and basically regenerate and restore healthy cellular function. So they're quite different. Whereas one with the heat therapy or sauna treatments, you're basically putting the body in a stress condition. Whereas with light therapy, you're basically giving the body nutrition on a cellular level to help restore function. So one question we get is, can I do it at the same time? And kind of the short answer is theoretically, there may not be anything detrimental. It hasn't been studied. I've yet to see a study that shows the two treatments being given at the same time. My personal gut feel would be that it'd be best to do them separately. If we talked with Dr. Michael Hamblin, who's a head researcher at Harvard University in their photomedicine lab, is arguably one of, if not the leading researcher in this field of photomedicine or photobiomodulation. And we've had discussions on this with him, and there's certainly some indication with some of the studies in light therapy that elevated temperature can have a negative or detrimental effect to the process of what the whole purpose of light therapy and stimulating this cellular function. So my recommendation would be for people to treat them separately. So either do the light therapy before or after your body's had a chance to cool down from a sauna treatment.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I think, in the sauna stuff has gotten thrown out. I mean, it's amazing. I'm pro sauna as well, but it's gotten thrown out as this recovery tool, which it can be, but it's also a hormetic stressor, right? I mean, that's kind of part of how it rejuvenates and does all of this stuff is by stressing your body to some point that it has to recover from. So it's interesting to make that delineation where one, like you're saying, is sort of a nutrient, and the other one is exercise, to some degree, if you wanted to really break it down like that.
Exactly.
So I'm curious about application as far as, is it sort of point source? Like you say you've got osteoarthritis in your knees, would you direct the light specifically on your knees, or is it more like a total body absorption that gets it where it's going? Are you seeing that these light waves will penetrate deeply, or how does that all work out?
Yeah, no, perfect question. So there's I would say the vast majority of the research is geared towards specific tissues that are being treated, and we do see quite evidence of quite deep penetration, or at least the effective penetration of light, specifically with the near infrared wavelengths are quite effective at deeper tissue. And much of the research using infrared light, there's substantial amount geared towards joint health, reducing muscle soreness, pain, even maximizing muscle density, strength, performance, of large muscle groups. We're not talking about, small muscle groups. We're talking about the quadriceps, biceps, major muscle groups that have been tested. So there's definitely evidence for deep tissue benefits. I think one of the things that'll be really interesting to see come out of this field in the next 5 to 10 years is, I suspect there are a lot of systematic benefits that will be more widely recognized and understood, simply just from the aspect that our body virtually our entire body is able to harness and absorb light and utilize it. So I think it only stands to reason that, you get some benefits from, basically allowing your whole body to be exposed. And, whether it's your cardiovascular system, the lymphatic system, I would be shocked if they don't find some pretty cool things, in the next 5 to 10 years related to systematic benefits.
Mm. So what, personally for you, Justin, what have been some of the benefits you've experienced?
Some of the things that I've seen, initially, my parents lived out of state. And after just a couple months of doing the treatment, I got a chance to visit with them. And the first thing out of their mouth, it was, like, what are you doing to your skin? Your face looks vibrant. And your skin looks so healthy. And so that's kind of a cool thing. I think it's easy. I think especially for guys that maybe aren't, paying as close attention to that, but even for women too, as we're looking at ourselves in the mirror every day, maybe we don't recognize some of these slower changes that happen over time. But it's quite common for people to see something they haven't seen for a while after they've been regularly doing the treatment, and have people comment on just how their skin, the glow, healthy look. There's obviously studies on reducing fine lines and wrinkles over time. So that's one, certainly. I'm getting to the point where I would like to not grow. I'd like to grow gracefully. So I'm already 40 years old myself. So it's definitely something where I want to look young and healthy as long as well as possible. So that's one thing. I've also noticed, I went through, as I was in my mid to late 30s, had noticed some pretty significant thinning to my hair, kind of the typical male pattern baldness, kind of the back of the head area. And that's something I've seen really fill back in just about, completely to where it used to be. So that was pretty cool too. Again, there's plenty of research out there to support it. So, you don't have to take my word for it. But that was another cool thing I've seen. And then I would say another one, just from a relaxation, kind of stress reduction application. That's something I definitely feel, relaxed from the treatment. It's something at the end of the day, it's a great way for me to unwind before bed. So those are a handful of the things I've noticed. That's one of the cool things about the therapy is for people that do it and start it. Most of them can see a pretty significant benefit in a short period of time. Sometimes they may not even be able to put their finger on why they love it. But most people do notice some things, and they just know it's like their body knows that it's good for them. And sometimes they can see some things right away. Sometimes it's take some time to kind of visibly or see some of those. But even just muscle soreness and pain relief, a lot of times people can see a pretty big improvement at that just with one session.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like solving a hair loss problem and reducing fine lines and wrinkles is a pretty significant selling point. It's funny. I think one of the outside of the kind of biohacking world and paleo effects and all of that, I'm pretty sure it was in an airline magazine. Somebody was selling a ball cap with this technology in it, right? So all these little red lights in there, which leads me to the next question. That there's probably got to be some kind of a quality versus quantity equation in this, right? Like, are all of these lights created equal? Or is there some level of, I don't know, light management system in the technology that gets you what you want? Instead of just a bunch of red LEDs in a ball cap.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. When it comes down to what determines the effectiveness of a light therapy session, that really boils down to just a few key things. There's a lot of other, I guess, kind of surrounding factors, if you will. But in terms of how effective the light therapy treatment is, one of the critical things, of course, I've mentioned previously is the wavelength. You have to be using these wavelengths that have been proven to induce these cellular functions. And then the other one would be the intensity of the light. So, you could be using the right wavelength, but what we found when just initially, as we kind of were digging into if there was an option for something we could use at home, we found a couple things. One, almost all the products on the market were very small, so they would treat, they were basically a handheld device that would treat a very small area on your face, or maybe pinpoint a joint or something. And then the intensity. And the research is pretty clear that to get an effective dose, especially for deeper tissue applications, it takes a significant amount of light energy for this to happen. And unfortunately, a lot of the products on the market just aren't set up for that. A lot of them would be fairly effective at inducing some skin health benefits if you did them long enough. And when I say long enough, we're not talking 5 or 10 minutes. If a lot of these to be effective, it's something you would have to do, for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or an hour to get, an effective dose just for your face. And so it quickly becomes something that's not sustainable in terms of adding it to your daily routine. So that's really why we've designed our products to deliver an intense light therapy treatment available for your entire body, so that you can, something that your whole body can benefit from. All of us, would like to look young and stay healthy. But the benefits don't stop just at the skin. So it's really important to us to deliver a product that's the most effective on the market in terms of providing value for deep tissue benefits as well.
Right. Yeah, it's just like any other supplement, right? It's like you can buy any supplement out there, but if it doesn't actually have enough of what you need in it, you're just kind of wasting your time. Yeah,
exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the system itself, because you mentioned briefly about, the previous systems on the market had been, handheld or very small devices. And you mentioned, that you're using it for your skin. And so I'm wondering if you can just explain the system setup itself and how someone would go about choosing what the right setup for them would be.
Yeah. So we launched our new modular system this summer. It's FDA registered for pain relief. And it basically provides a high energy dosage of both red and near infrared, as well as giving you the option to select either there's a small percentage of people that find that they respond better to one or the other, or specifically as their body's getting, becoming accustomed to the treatment. But essentially it is a panel of high powered LEDs that you can stand or place basically a part of your body in front of for approximately a 10-minute treatment per treatment area is the recommended kind of protocol. Roughly 4 to 6 inches away from the device. And that's just because you get a very even high energy treatment at that distance. We have targeted treatment options. We actually just announced the coming soon Joov Go, which will be a travel version, basically a handheld, the highest energy dosage treatment available for a handheld device. So something that you could travel with, take with you, throw in your suitcase. So that'll be coming soon. And then the next, I guess, size up from that's for targeted treatment is the Joov Mini. And you have the ability to, the most popular setup for that, we have a stand so that you can set that on virtually any level surface and treat, whether it's your face, a joint. You could set it on the floor, next to an ankle if you had, basically any area that you were looking to do a targeted treatment. And then
go ahead. No, go ahead. That's
I was just going to say after, so that's kind of for the targeted treatment. And then for full body systems, we have the modular system that's based on the Solo. So the kind of the building block device, if you will, is the Joov Solo. It's approximately 3 feet by 9 inches wide. And it's very, very effective at treating large areas of the body. So we have basically multiples of that. So you can do we have the Duo, the Max, which is actually 2 solos and 2 minis. And then we have the Quad, which is 4 solos, and the Elite, which is 6 solos. And that's something that we're seeing utilized in medical practices, chiropractic offices, cryotherapy centers, professional athletes, those sorts of things, where they really want a full body system.
Right. So would the big system, would that be something that's all oriented on a flat wall, or are people like putting them in a tube for kind of an all around exposure?
Yeah, great question. So we have a couple different mounting options. The kind of the traditional original a Joov mounting system was to hang it on a door, which is still very popular. It's very convenient. It doesn't, basically doesn't take up any space because it literally fits between a door and the wall. It's about as deep as a doorstop. So that's something that's very easy to, put on your bathroom door or bedroom door, and, it fits virtually anywhere. We also have a mobile stand which is more common for practices, facilities where they want to be able to move it around a room. We also have a wall set up where essentially it's leaned or basically tethered to the wall. Also, very unobtrusive to your space. So yeah, we have a couple different mounting options that basically fits whatever application or kind of what fits your specific living arrangements.
So if you were just wanting to do like a full body treatment front and back once a day, you would probably opt for something like the quad or the max or the quad or something along those lines for a single person. That would probably be effective.
Exactly. Those are very common, especially we definitely have people that start. And that's one thing that's nice about the modular design is people can start with a solo and experience it for themselves and see how their body responds. And, it's one thing to read about the benefits and to hear about them from people that they trust. But once people, experience it for themselves, I think at that point, people really start to see the long-term benefits, potential for their overall health. And then it becomes something where I think that's easy to see. This is something I definitely want to invest in my long-term health for me and my family. So at that point, we have the quad or the elite would be a great way to do, a full body treatment, literally head to toe. And so it's something where, you could do 10 minutes front and back, and it's something that's fairly easy to add to your day. We have some people split it up, maybe do half in the morning, half in the evening. We have a lot of professional setups where they'll do two systems, so they can basically get you covered kind of front and back in one shot. So those are a lot of different options out there.
Yeah, super cool. So I'm curious because you talked about the benefits for your skin and noticing just the improvement in fine lines and wrinkles and such. What about folks who suffer from hyperpigmentation or have any problems with, melasma or that type of thing? Would this activate, or do you know if this has any contraindications for that type of condition?
That's a great question. There definitely is some conflicting research on that point. So it's something that we would recommend people to, consult with their physician and see what would be best for them. I think at the kind of the core level, it's important just to think of it in terms of light energy that your body's getting, delivered. It's not, 5 times hotter than the sun or anything like that. I mean, it's literally wavelengths that you're getting as a part of natural sunlight. There are various other potential photosensitive individuals, from various disorders that, there's some things that they would want to check into. But by and large, there are very few contraindications. On that one specifically, I would say that I would recommend to start just with the red, as the near infrared can induce or can have more of a reaction there. So, I would say I would just kind of proceed with caution if you're in that boat where you're kind of concerned about that.
Right.
And you guys have a sort of a trial situation, right? So maybe you can explain that, the 60-day trial.
Yes. So from the very beginning, we have had a 60-day return policy, and we've thought that was important for one. It may be less so now than when we first launched our website almost 3 years ago now, but it was very new. So most people had not really been very aware of the research that had been conducted about the benefits. And so we've really focused on trying to bring education and awareness to the overall impact that light plays and the impact that light has on our overall health. So by providing a 60-day return policy, it gives people that peace of mind of, I can try this, and if it doesn't do what I hope it does, then I can get a full refund. So we've kept that from the beginning, and you can certainly read about our return policy on our website for the specifics there. But we do have a 60-day return policy.
Awesome. Yeah. And so maybe just as we start to wrap up, you could also just tell our audience, when there's a lot of therapies out there, there's a lot of different companies, what are some of the key things that they should be looking for to really distinguish if they're getting a high quality product or not?
Yeah, no, I definitely would encourage people to do their research when it comes to light therapy. There are a lot of companies out there selling products. One of the first things that I would look for is a company that does have their products FDA registered. The FDA recognized light therapy quite some time ago, and it has been regulating the industry. Unfortunately, there are quite a few companies that don't have FDA registered devices. And one of the main reasons why that's important, or something you should be looking for, is it does require manufacturers to do a whole host of testing in terms of safety testing. There's a device history file that tracks everything related to those specific devices. So every screw, every component has been documented and tested and vetted. So that's one thing. And then the other things I would look for would be the treatment size option. So if it's something where you can treat your whole body with, I think you'll find there are very few options out there that are affordable that can do that well. There's some beds on the market that start upwards of $60,000. That's just not practical for a consumer, and even quite honestly, a lot of practitioners, that it's just not something that's practical at that price point. So in terms of the value of the treatment area and the power output of the light, which is something that I would definitely recommend that people do their research on that. And there's several articles on our Learn page on our website that dive deep kind of into that science of the irradiance or light power intensity, and even the total light output of the devices in milliwatts. Those are things that I don't want to get overly into the physics of that, but that's definitely something that matters in terms of how effective the treatment is.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering, because I know a lot of professionals are using it, and you have folks that, are using it in their practices, chiropractors and whatnot. Is there a list of references or resources if someone wanted to go to try this somewhere, just, check it out for a day? Or is there anywhere that they could look up on your website to see if there's anyone in their area? Or is the best thing to really just maybe start with the smaller device and count on that 60-day trial period? Yeah,
I think that's really the best way to do it, because ideally it's something that you're doing daily. And it's kind of tricky to do that, unless it's something that's, you're already going to a facility, for example, that has it. That is something that we hope to get built out, but in terms of having kind of a searchable Joov finder, if you will. But we don't have that up and running yet. So yeah, I would recommend to check out our Learn page and read some of the articles about the specific health benefits, and see kind of what are some of the things that might be impactful for you. And then every single one of those articles links back to published clinical research, so you don't have to take our word for it. There's the studies that have documented those benefits. And then another thing that I think it's interesting too is to look through the customer reviews, and that's honestly one of the coolest things that we get to see now, literally every day, getting 5-star reviews, hearing how light therapy has made a difference in people's lives. In some ways that will, for some people that, just brings a tear to your eye to hear, the impact that it's had. So those are a few things I would recommend checking out. And then, I would definitely recommend you give it a shot. It's not a miracle cure, but it does, I can honestly say it works much better than I ever dreamed that it would.
Yeah. And I would just think for folks that are living in cold climates, often folks, like you said, your wife went for just to get the warmth and just to get that sort of heat treatment. I can imagine people in the cold climates would really benefit just from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. There actually has been some studies conducted with using these wavelengths for seasonal affective disorder that are quite promising for that as well.
Awesome. Well, it seems like really interesting technology. We definitely need to get our hands on one of these and start using it and give some feedback. But we really appreciate your time today. And hopefully this answered a lot of questions. We had folks that were actually in our audience asking about the products and asking about this light therapy. So it was really fun just to dive in with you and geek out and learn all about this awesome technology.
Excellent. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So what's the best place for folks to find out more?
Yeah, you can head to our website. It's www.joov.com. That's JOOV as in Victor.com. And you can learn all about the therapy, the options that we have to get started so you can start enjoying the benefits for yourself.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa.
We'll see you soon.
See you. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
And that's a wrap, folks. I hope you guys got something out of that.
Yes, I know that we did.
Yeah.
And that thing is a Joov Light system.
It's a Joov.
I'm so committed to getting one. So
It's going to happen.
Hopefully you guys try it as well. And, we're not getting paid to say this. We just really are interested in it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do, right? We share things we're interested in. And,
exactly.
Some of you guys roll your eyes and some of you are like, that's super interesting. I'm into it.
Exactly.
Which is the deal.
And if you are enjoying the things we're interested in and learning about those via our podcast, we would love if you take a quick minute, subscribe, and leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review.
5-star review specifically.
Yes, specifically. Let's be specific. We are actually on a roll with the 5-star reviews. So we're really quite proud and grateful. And we love seeing those come in. And we really read every single one of them. So they mean a lot to us. And, I know there's so many people out there vying for your attention and your energy and your 5-star reviews. But we really do appreciate them. And we read every single one of them. And it makes a difference to us. So if you are enjoying the podcast, it'll take you 15 seconds to just scroll down in your app, click subscribe, leave a quick review, and it will mean the world to us.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we hope to see you guys next week. And in the meantime, we miss you. We love you. Have a great week.
All the things. Bye.
And I don't